You know, one of the people that we haven't mentioned yet was Ben Hogan in some detail. Now, when you joined the tour, and Ben then had his accident in '49 and came back, what were your impressions of him as a man and as a striker of the golf ball?
Well, I would have loved to have gotten closer to Ben. I never could. Ben always kind of held people to a distance, but he always respected me and talked to me, and I had so much respect for this man because, Peter, Ben Hogan was the greatest self-made player in the history of the game. Jack Nicklaus had Jack Rout. They all had their mentors. Ben Hogan taught Ben Hogan how to play golf. That's why today when people want to know, how do you learn how to play, he said, dig it out of the dirt. Here was a man that, at my age, when I was 27 years of age, I was leading money with him, and he was trying to find where the ball was going. I mean, he had a lot of airmail, but he didn't have much zip code. And he didn't have a good golf swing. And he finally decided that after Doug hooking the ball for so many years, he was going to revamp his golf swing, and he did. He went to the neutral grip, which was then neutralized his golf swing, shortened the arc of the swing from the grip position, and learned to find the ball and put it in the fairway, and then became one of the greatest players of all time. This man practiced better than any player I've ever seen. He didn't converse with anyone. He didn't want to. He wanted to find out in the time that he spent hitting golf balls what he was doing and control not only the distance of the ball or the curvature of the ball, but the flight of the golf ball. He was always thinking ball flight more than anything. And he wanted that ball flight to be the same all the time. So this man was probably the greatest self-made player in the history of the game. And that's why I admire this man so much. We've all had help from other people. I've had help from Ted Kroll and Tony Pennant and a lot of the great players on the tour. Hogan really found out what golf was all about by himself to a great degree. And you have to admire that in that man. That's why he probably was introverted like he was. He was so possessed at trying to find a way to control the golf ball and beat the golf course that he became what he is today, a kind of an introverted sign of a person when it came to golf.
But it was a labor of love, was it not? He loved what he was doing,
Well,
the joy of hitting shots.
You can't be successful at anything unless you love it. I love golf. Ben loved golf. I love playing and I love teaching. I have had two parts of my career, Peter, that have made me what I am as a person today. And Ben didn't teach very much, but he loved to play golf, and that made his life. Love is the greatest, strongest word for success in life, in marriages, and in business or whatever.
Let's go ahead and talk to a young fan of yours. We have Tyler calling from Indiana. Hello, Tyler.
Hello, and I like your show,
Thank you,
Peter, and my dad and I watch it every week.
Well, thanks, Tyler.
And my question for you, Mr. Toski, is I have a set of your irons, and I really, really like them, and I think they're the best ones I've ever hit.
Well, thank you.
And I was wondering why you don't advertise.
Well, we're a very small company, Tyler, and we don't have the budget to advertise like Ping or Callaway or whomever. We have never been a big company, probably never will be a big company. We've been a successful golf club company. Where a lot of small companies have gone broke, we're still in existence because we control our budget. We do make as good a product, I think, as anybody in the business. But we will never be a big company because we don't have the dollars to advertise, to grow as big as these other companies do.
Let's talk to Tyler a little bit about his golf game. And how long have you been playing golf, Tyler?
I got my first set of clubs when I was 2. And my handicap now is about an 18.
Wow.
And how old is he?
How old are you, Tyler?
I'm 12.
And what's your next goal in golf?
To win the Max Fly State Championship this summer.
Well, is there anything you'd like to ask one of the greatest teachers in the history of the game about your golf swing?
How can I get more distance with staying under control and not getting out of control?
Excellent question, Tyler. Remember one thing, 85% of all the speed in the golf swing comes from your hands, wrists, and arms. They produce more speed than any other part of your body, and your other parts support that speed. As your hands and arms get stronger, then you can swing the club faster. So your hand strength is the beginning, and then your arm strength which is support your hand strength and controls your weakest link, which are your wrists, is the key to controlling the golf swing. Young Tiger Woods has more arm speed and hand speed than any player I've ever seen in the game. Probably start swinging 2 or 3 pound weights and then go to 5 pound weights, which is what I do. I put 2 5-pound weights in my hand and I just swing them around my body and develop a natural golf swing, what you call a rotary force and a lateral and a vertical force. I let my body turn and shift while I swing my arms, and I do that 25, 50 times a day, and I build up my hand strength, I build up my finger strength, and wrist strength and arm strength, and that will help you to control your golf swing while the other parts support that. And as you get older and stronger, you will see that you must keep these muscles toned to control the golf swing and arrive at a mass velocity times squared to hit the ball to your maximum distance.
I'm just getting ready to read your book, How to Become a Complete Golfer.
Tyler, you are terrific. Why don't you give us a call after the championship, and maybe you'll come down and see us one of these days.
All right, that sounds good.
Let us know how you do, and anytime that you find yourself coming to Orlando, please let us know. We'd love to have you come by and watch some shows.
Okay, thanks.
Take care and say hello to your dad for us.
All right.
We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, Bob and I will be on the instructional set. We'll talk about the golf swing, and then we'll take your calls on how to play better golf. Tony in Florida, it's your opportunity to work with Mr. Toski.
Yes, sir. Bob, you're a great player and a great teacher.
Thank you.
I want your opinion on something. I worked for a great guy, a great teacher, Ernie Jones, many years ago. Shagged balls for him, watched him in a little shack, teaching with that dagger on the end of a kerchief. And I want you to rate Ernie Jones for me.
Rate him?
Rate him. And
Well,
tell us a little of his philosophy.
Ernest Jones was...
You sound like him, to Bob. That's why I'm asking
Well-
that. You sound just like him.
I'm not quite as old as he is.
No, I know. Well, he's gone, but you sound a lot like his
Well, thank you.
sister.
Well, see, Ernest Jones taught swinging the club head.
Right.
He wanted your mind down here. And then along came, what's his name out of California that said swing the handle? My friend Eddie Marins.
Eddie Marins, Paul Runyon.
And Paul Runyon, swing
Right.
the handle. And then Hogan came along and said, swing the shaft. So there are different philosophies. Hogan wanted you to swing the shaft to control the head of the club through the handle, but he wanted, because he felt his golf swing in the shaft, it was too stiff or too limber. He knew that the shaft was the most important part of swinging the club head because the shaft had to match what he was trying to do. And Ernest Jones was the hands teacher. He talked more about the hands than he did any other part of the golf swing, because your hands, in the definition of Webster, mean to take hold of, to take control of. No other part of the body controls the golf club more than your hands. No one part of your body influences the golf swing more than your hand. Other parts have their share of the workload. But if I didn't put my hands on the golf club right, if I don't have a good grip, it's going to affect my golf swing. And when the first thing I look for when a person has a problem with his golf swing is I look at the hand. Is it too strong? Is it too weak? And that influences the golf swing. And the hands become the most important part of the golf swing. So how we place our hands on the golf club and the amount of pressure we hold through our hand is going to determine basically how we swing the club or how we feel what the club is doing. So a light grip pressure into a firmer grip pressure is the beginning, because we can feel the force swinging and not forcing the feel of the swing.
Let's go ahead and talk to a friend of yours, Jerry Tardy, the Vice President and Editor of Golf Digest. How are you, Jerry?
Hello, Peter, Bob.
Peter.
Great pleasure to welcome you.
I just
Peter,
wanted
Jerry
to...
used to take all my money. He beat me every time. I couldn't beat him. And I said, you're playing the wrong handicap.
Why do you think he kept you around so long? What would you say, Jerry, given the incredible boom in instruction in golf, which really may have been kicked off when the Golf Digest School started in '71 with Bob, what do you attribute his success as a communicator, and to what do you attribute his success as a teacher in terms of his broad acceptance?
Well, I think that Bob was very argumentative and challenging and about the most provocative teacher I've ever seen on the lesson tee. Some students practically were black and blue when they finished with Bob, but I even remember one woman who had teeth marks, but they always came back. And the reason they came back was that he did whatever it took to help them. and Bob helped a lot of people.
His influence has been incredibly broad-based across the country, and a lot of the influence of Golf Digest is attributable to Bob's efforts. What would you say in terms of your learning experience from Bob has been the most valuable thing that you've picked up as a player?
Well, I remember once flying 2,000 miles to take a lesson from Bob, and he came over and took one look at me hitting the ball and said, "Take it back slower," and he walked away. One of the amazing things about Bob is that he didn't overteach, and that's what a lot of teachers fall prey to, telling the student too much.
Now, you don't have to fly 2,000 miles tonight. While we've got you and while we've got Bob here, anything you want to ask him about your game that's troubling you?
Well, I've always need a catch-up lesson on how to get out of the sand. What do you give us for general advice on getting the ball on the green and close?
Most people, Jerry, you know, when they hit a bunker shot, the divot is too deep. It's not shallow enough. The divot in a bunker is a lot shallower than that on the turf. And most people get a steeper angle of descent and don't slide the club underneath the ball. And they're afraid to slide the club underneath the ball because they feel like if they slide it, the ball will not have enough force to get out. So they try to force the club down into the ball or into the sand, and they de-loft the club face, take a deeper divot, and the ball never gets up in the air and it hits into the bank or doesn't go very far. And psychologically, we don't understand it. All you have to do is slide the club underneath the ball and strike about 3 inches behind the ball. They used to say 2 inches, but when I was doing TV work, I took all the best bunker players on tour and I said, hit golf shots for me, and every one of them struck about 3 inches behind the ball. So that was a myth. And as they struck further behind the ball with a slightly open club face, the back of the sole would slide underneath the ball and take the sand and throw the ball out. And they had to get that picture of sliding the club, and it's almost like taking a particle out of a cup of coffee with a spoon. You just have to slide it underneath that particle and then just keep it moving and take it out of that cup.
What a great way to visualize it. Jerry, thank you so much for calling. Good luck with your bunker play, and thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks.
Take good care. We're going to take a very short break. We'll be right back with more of your calls right after this. Every week on Golf Talk Live, you have the opportunity to email a question to our guest. You send them to us to thegolfchannel.com. From Dennis Chow in Berkeley, Michigan. I've been working on trying to delay the release of the club through impact, but I don't know what the proper release should feel like. Can you try to give me an idea of how it should feel? Sir.
Yes, Peter.
Can you give us an idea of how that should feel?
Well, I just put a club there while you were talking on the camera there. And release in the dictionary, according to Webster, means to let go. So I'm going to give you a release with a ball related to my hand.
Okay.
The ball is in my hand, and I'm going to try to throw this ball underhanded like a golf swing, because it's an underhanded throw. We're working from the side to the body, from the front to the back, and up and down. You're doing all of that. But when you get here, you're releasing under your chin, which is golf is an underhanded blow. Most people have a sidearm overhanded blow. So I'm going to try to throw this ball, and if you'll move that shaft just about where this line is so you can see where my hand is.
It would be a pleasure. How's that?
All right, that's fine. Move it, that's good. I'm going to start with this hand over this line, and then you will see that I'm going to try to, when I get to the bottom of my arc, I'm going to release this ball and try to make it just move over the top of that shaft. Let me see if I can release this ball and throw it just over the top of that shaft. All right, I was a little too high. So I release up with my hand a little bit too early. I'm going to delay the release and feel that in my wrist joint. Now I may do it too long and then go too low, but let's see if I can get it any closer. And I did. I finally hit the shaft.
To say the least.
Now, that gives me a feeling of rotating and accelerating something off my hand. Now, the difference in that in a golf swing is release in golf means to hold on and rotate and accelerate. you're holding on to the club while the club head is catching up to the hands, which is through centrifugal force. You're simply trying to feel the club head catch up and square and let it go forward and around. Let it square and let it then turn to the left. That's called timing. So how do you do that? You start with a short club and release slowly. Then go to a longer club. And if I can release the club slowly through the ball and find that just above that shaft, watch, I'm going to try to release this club head and try to hit it over that shaft. Well, it's pretty hard to talk while you're swinging here. Let me
Not for you.
concentrate. That ball went over the shaft, you see?
Yes, sir.
The point I'm saying to this point of release is that we don't trust our hands to rotate and accelerate freely through the object, because once the club and the ball contact each other, our tendency is to over control. That's why most people make a good practice swing, because when they swing the club and let it swing and turn freely, there's no object in front of the club head. So they don't fight the hands and the arms and the wrist joints and the body when the club passes through an imaginary line, meaning a straight line. But that's why people take good practice swings. There's no contact, and they trust their hands to pass through with the club head and let them move forward and turn around and up and finish their swing. And then you notice when the ball gets there, everything changes, meaning that they have allowed the ball to psych them out. That's why they wrote, Ike Handy wrote the book, It's a Damn Ball. It's because a golf ball destroys whatever confidence we have in a golf swing because of contact between the ball and the club. Now there's a result. The result is the ball is going to be moving forward. When we took a practice swing, there wasn't any result, but we probably made a better golf swing.
What do we tell students, therefore, so that they can try to make the practice swing when the ball is really sitting there? How do you do that?
Well, first of all, I put them on a peg. Let them strike the ball off the peg. Because when the ball's on the peg, I tell them they don't have to force down or force up. It's already up. Just allow the club to find the ball on the peg. And that decreases the amount of force, tension, and effort to find the ball. When the ball is on the ground, it's amazing how they force down, force up, force right, force left. When the ball is on the peg, I say simply allow the club to pass through the ball and allow it to knock the ball off the peg because it's already up in the air. So therefore, they don't fight that force as it moves to the point of impact where the ball is. And then I gradually lower the peg and then take it away. But it's amazing when the ball gets closer to the ground. It's amazing how they either start forcing down or forcing up or forcing right or forcing left, because the ball is on the ground and they're trying to help the club to get the ball in the air. Where when the ball is on the peg, I just say let the club level, let it find the bottom of the arc, let it pass through the ball and find the ball square, let it pass through. And I have them chip balls in my hand so that they won't force it. You'd be surprised because they don't want to hurt me. They decrease the amount of effort. They don't force the swing. They find the ball, and as I move further back, I tell them just try to retain the same sensation. Then once you let them go for a while on their own, then they start getting more forced physical effort and try to force the swing, then they get out of control, so you have to come back and recontrol the player again.
A game for a lifetime to play, a game for a lifetime to learn. We're going to come back in just a moment and spend a little more time with Bob Toski. Don't go away. At the beginning of the show, you made it clear how much pleasure your relationship with your dad had given you. How much pleasure have you had being a dad?
Well, I think family is a very important part of anybody's life and should be. In my family, my sons, Robert, Bruce, and Scott, and I have a daughter, Karen, and my wife, who's a beautiful woman, both outside and inside, has put up with a player being on tour and a player traveling all over the world being a teacher, which hasn't been easy for her. She practically raised those children. So I know what she's gone through, and I'm hoping I can pay her back for all the times that she spent away from me to raise my family. My children don't play golf, incidentally, to speak of. And that doesn't bother me, because as long as they're happy, as long as they're enjoying life and have a good family, that's the most important thing.
You have given so much pleasure to so many people. The game cannot repay you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Peter.
It's been a great pleasure. We'll see you all next week right here on Golf Talk Live. Good night, everybody.